Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 111 of season 5 of Be With Me. And today I'm going to title this Making a God-Shaped Whole. That is whole, making a God-shaped whole, H-O-L-E, whole, W-H-O-L-E, making it complete. So Paul is in Athens, and he finds by all the temples that are not just monuments, they're actual in-use temple with people serving and sacrificing, etc. He finds that Athens is made for worship. Now, unfortunately, it's misworship, and he's discussing with philosophers and the Jews and the devout persons and women and business people and the customers of the businesses. And they actually ask him, so tell us about this new teaching. And it truly is new. I mean, think about it. It splits the world into BC and AD. All right, so let me read the passage. This is from Acts chapter 17, verse 22. Paul is in the business area, and it says, So Paul, standing in the midst of the Areopagus, said, Men of Athens, I perceive that in every way you are very religious. For as I passed along and observed the objects of your worship, so they're worshiping, I found also an altar with this inscription, To the unknown God. What therefore you worship as unknown, this I proclaim to you. The God who made the world and everything in it, being the Lord of the heaven and earth, does not live by temples made by man, nor is he served by human hands, as though he needed anything, since he himself gives to all mankind life and breath and everything. And he made from one man every nation of mankind to live on the face of the earth, having determined allotted periods and the boundaries of their dwelling place. And then listen to this, verse 27, that they should seek God in the hope that they may feel their way toward him and find him. Yet he's actually not far from each one of us. All right, so Paul is just a genius here, and he notices something, and he observes something, and he observes that these people are religious people and have this object of worship. So he gets the seed idea for this sermon, which is to use this altar to the unknown God. So he says, starts his sermon, I found an altar to the unknown God. And then he says, what you worship is unknown, I'm going to make known to you. That is, I'm going to describe the characteristics of this God. So what things does Paul see fit to describe to the Athenians about God? First thing he says is that he's the creator. He's the creator of the world and everything in it. So let's start with creation. Then he talks about the location. Where is this God? Well, he's not in temples. Kind of used to be, actually, but now he's decentralized. And what we've learned so far in the book of Acts is now believers get the Holy Spirit. We get the indwelling of the Spirit. We get God within us. So we don't need to go to a temple. He's in us, and he's working in the advocacy of our minds and our consciences, both for positive to do things, for promptings, as well as for restraining. So the location of God is changed. And then he's a non-served God. He doesn't need anything. He doesn't lack anything. He's the giver of everything. And specifically, he's the giver of life and breath. And who do you pray to? Who do you turn to when you have a life problem? He's the person. Then he talks about the unity of mankind. And this is interesting because this is something that Paul himself and Peter and the new Christians have wrestled with as far as is there a separation between Jew and Gentile? And even more here, even politically, Roman and Greek. And he makes the foundational point is, no, God created one Adam, and that is spread into all mankind now. All right, verse 26 is you are not random. Here it is. You are put in a place. You're put in a period. You're put in a country with boundaries. So your existence here on earth is not a random thing, but that's verse 26. And then verse 27, my favorite for the day, is you are made for eternity. We had quoted yesterday a passage from Ecclesiastes, I think it was in chapter 3, that he's placed eternity in our hearts. That is, every single person has a God-shaped whole, H-O-L-E, in our hearts. And Paul is teaching about who can make that whole, H-O-L-E, whole, W-H-O-L-E. And then the final thing he says is, you are not far. He charges them, says, you're going to have to do a little effort here, and the effort is going to have to be directional. So don't just throw up your hands and say, well, we can't find God. Well, you can find him. He is findable. So how? Well, open his word. Maybe start with Acts 17. Sit under some teaching. Walk with the wise. Get with Christians. That's the purpose of fellowship in the body. And then wonder. He is findable. All right, so conclusions for today. Talking about the Athenians, we're very similar, and that is everybody worships something. And Paul is directing the people of Athens to the one true God. And then just as an encouragement, and I think this is prevalent in our societies, you are not random. Your time and place and country and people group, that is not random. You are definitely not random. You're put here by God under the watchful eye of God, and you're made for eternity. Now, you're here temporarily, and your heart is set for eternity. So wouldn't you like to fill that longing? And he says that encouragingly, he says, God is not far. So it's going to require some effort, some energy, and the energy is non-random. In other words, it's directional. It's seeking God. Do things that point you towards God's rather than just sort of random behaviors. And then I think he encourages them and say, look, he is not far. He is findable. He is within reach. So not only were you made for this, but you were made for this in the sense that you were created for this. You're placed here. You're not random, and God is findable. So I think all of that is an encouragement here today. Thanks for listening. Go seek God, and my prayer is you find him. Thanks for listening. I'll see you tomorrow.